All right, with all of the wild weather that we've had already this week and what we're thinking of, I want you to look at these two pictures. Both are storm damage. On the left, it rained so hard that it seeped underneath the door, got the floor all wet. On the other side, a tree on a house. One of these is covered by your homeowner's insurance and one is not. Christopher Cook from Alliance Insurance Services is with us to talk about storm damage and insurance. So we just showed those two pictures. I want to specifically talk about the one where the rainwater came inside. Why or why not does insurance cover that?
Yeah, most homeowners policies in our state are going to have a wind-driven rain exclusion. That's a real kind of a difficult term, if you will, because did the wind drive it in, or was it because the door was issued or whatever? But the exclusion exists. Wind-driven rain would not be covered under most policies. We're starting to see some carriers offer that coverage, but typically it's not covered.
So when is like water damage covered?
Yeah, ruptured pipe, ruptured plumbing pipe, water that's discharged from within your home. If the roof was blown off your house or parts of it, and water was coming in that way, um, the homeowners policy in North Carolina is tricky around anything related to flood or water seeping in from the outside, rainwaters.
All right, well, let's talk about like your typical storm damage kind of thing. We saw the tree that was on the house. That would be covered by your homeowners.
Yes.
Okay, but then the problem is people then always want to know who's the one that's really at fault, who's supposed to pay for it. Like if that tree came from my neighbor's house, isn't my neighbor supposed to pay for it?
Yeah, thankfully you and I have known each other quite a while, and we've answered that question quite a few times. And the damage that is done to whichever property, that's whose policy is going to pay for it. Your neighbor's tree falling on your home was damaged. Your homeowner's policy is going to pay the claim. Um, we always want to get into pointing fingers, but Mother Nature led to a damage in your house and your homeowner's insurance policy. That's why you have it. That's the policy that will pay the claim.
All right, but what about if you've been telling your neighbor, I think you need to cut down that tree?
Then your neighbor is liable, and you certainly would be just in the court of law in our state. And quite possibly, your insurance company is going to go after your neighbor for you. That's what's called subrogation, if that's the real thing. But in the moment, you've got damage to your house, and what we suggest is stop any further damage if you can, get repairs started, let your insurance company take care of that. If your neighbor was truly negligent, your insurance company is going to represent you and ask for your neighbor to reimburse them and ultimately you.
Okay. All right. So we're going to kind of switch a little bit from storm damage to maybe just some like regular kind of insurance questions. Here's my question. Maybe it's because of storm damage and something happened and they had to redo their house or renovate their house. They did that kind of thing. Do you have to then tell your insurance company, hey, we updated the kitchen or we updated the bathroom?
Please always do. There's multiple reasons. Insurance carriers rate your homeowner's policy based on the age of your major systems, to include your roof, electrical, plumbing, and heating and air. Also, if you've done something really nice to your home, you've added on an addition or you've changed out the custom finishes, to replace that house in the hopefully we don't have this, but in the catastrophic event like a fire or a tornado, how are we going to replace it with the exact things that you've put in there if you don't let anyone know? So if you had, I'm looking at countertops in your background, if you had Formica countertops and you've updated them to marble, you want to let your insurance carrier know so they're properly insuring your home.
And I know people at home are going to be like, well, that's just because they're going to charge me more on my premium. But I want to get to the part of how they pay you out, because how they pay you out is what you really care about when something happens.
That's right. They're going to pay out a claim based on what it costs to replace or repair with like kind and quality. So if you have a brick siding home and a tree falls against it, they're not going to put vinyl siding on the side of your house. They're going to replace that brick if it's damaged in that particular example. If you've got nice tile floors in your bathroom, they're going to replace those nice tile floors. They're not going to put linoleum down. Nothing wrong with linoleum, but if you chose to have tile floors in your home, that's what you want the insurance company to put back in.
All right, let's talk about insurance when it comes to sending kids to college. You're going to be sending one of your own to college. Is there stuff still under your homeowner's insurance policy, or do you have to get them different insurance?
Their stuff is covered under your homeowner's policy as a dependent. Your dependents away from the house is covered under your homeowner's policy. There's still situations that where the kids need their own renter's policy based on maybe the landlord or the apartment complex's guidelines. But yes, their stuff is protected under your homeowner's policy while they're away at school.
Okay, and I want to make this clarification because this happens, right? Stuff gets stolen while you're at school, whether it's out of your backpack or out of your dorm room or out of your car, and that would be a homeowner's insurance claim.
All of those things would be a homeowner's insurance claim. And it's a big reason that some folks ask their student or insist that their student have their own policy because they don't want that affecting their primary homeowner's policy. A renter's policy is less than $150 a year, and that's what we see commonly done for our customers.
All right, you gave us all kinds of good information. We appreciate you. This interview is going to be in the Two Wants to Know section of our website. Right now, we're going to check in on the forecast because, well, we were just talking about insurance and storm damage, Tim.